Hey guys, welcome back to Friction Grand Rapids. Coach Bobby here. Today we're going to talk about belts. So you want to wear a belt because it's going to optimize intra-abdominal pressure, which is a really fancy way of saying that it's going to keep our midline a little bit tighter. So we're not going to have an energy leak there, which means we're going to get better hip drive against heavy weights, which is going to optimize how much weight we can lift. It's actually going to give our abdomen something to brace against. So we're going to actually get a better contraction of the abdominals. So our core will get stronger using a belt against heavy lifts. And then it's going to reduce the risk of injury, loss of position under heavy loads. So first thing with your belt is placement. So we're putting our belt on. Coach Trina's got her awesome bedazzled belt, which is getting really cool on the bar. But we want to place it generally over your belly button. But what we're really trying to do is cover the space between your pelvic bone and your ribs. Right? We want a little bit more stability and structure there. And that's going to vary with everybody. If you have a little bit bigger belly, that might be positioned a little bit lower. You really want to make sure that it's comfortable when you have a lot of pressure on there. Okay guys, so before you buy a belt, make sure you have the right size. So if we take a look at Trina's belt, we want to make sure that that material is touching when it's wrapped around us. If that is overlapping, that's a sign that that belt is too big. If there's a space between the belt, that's a sign that it is not big enough. So make sure that that is covering all of the space around, and that entire circumference around your trunk. Now that we've got the right belt on, we want to talk about the technique. Before we get into that, we want to have a good understanding of the difference between belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing versus chest breathing. So Trina's going to take a few chest breaths here and just kind of pay attention to how that chest rises, but we're also going to notice that it's not going to actually put any pressure into the belt. Now, if she takes a few belly breaths, we can see that that belt is getting tension into it and that area is going to expand. So when we put a belt on and that's on there tightly, we're going to take a big belly breath, limit the chest expansion, and then lock the abdominals around that extra pressure. And you're going to notice if you're doing it correctly that your abdominals are actually going to work a little bit harder against the pressure of the belt. So if Trina had a bar in front of her, she would start or she's going to front squat. That's great. She's going to load that bar, take a big breath into her belly, lock in her abdomen, and then initiate her movement. Now that we understand how big or how small our belt needs to be, how to use it, how to breathe into it, and get more tension, we need to understand when we need to wear a belt. You don't need to wear a belt all the time. You need to wear a belt on hip dominant movements like back squats, deadlifts that are above 80% of your heaviest lift. But that may also be with respect to reps and volume. For example, if you're doing a 20 RM and that weight on there is not above your 80%, well, it may be above your 80% with respect to your 20 RM, right? So just kind of need to be mindful of what stress we're going to be under there. Now, the other situation where you may need to wear a belt is in certain overhead movements where you need that midline support. So think about your push presses, your push jerks, and your split jerks. It may be really useful there. And additionally, you may also use it on Olympic weightlifting movements like the snatch and the clean and jerk, but typically you're not going to need that belt on those movements until you're in higher lifting percentages, closer to 90%. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to this video on how to use a belt, when to use a belt. I hope that gives you a better idea of what's appropriate with a belt, helps give you an idea of what size belt you would purchase and when you would use it. If you want to see some more informative videos, like and subscribe. If you want to get some in-person coaching, check out frictiongrandrapids.com and schedule an intro session for yourself.